up, cucks? We're gonna talk about Monday Night Raw up in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? I watched Raw and I forgot to make this video just because it was so bad that I think my brain just decided to shut down and just try to block out this episode of Raw. But I remembered it today because I was discussing it with my friend, and I thought to myself, I have to review this, what might be the worst episode of Raw in the history of Raw. You know what I'm saying? So the show opens up, right? I didn't really take notes. That's probably also why I forgot, you know what I'm saying? But the show opens up, and the Fiend just arrives, you know what I'm saying? Fiend does Fiend things, in that he does nothing. He's just a fat fucking clown, just standing there, right? Alexa Bliss appears, puts his hand on his like shoulder type of shit, right? And she doesn't do anything either, you know? They're just standing there. Then Retribution appears. Now I'm thinking to myself, good. This is a good way to put Retribution over. Have them show up and attack the Fiend, right? The argument here is that Retribution, even though the Fiend is supposed to be this like monster type guy, Retribution doesn't give a fuck, right? They're here to tear shit apart. So the logic would dictate that Retribution should have no fear from the Fiend because just how their character is presented, you know? But they come out, they like circle the Fiend, right? Muhammad Ali. Whoa there, you know what I'm saying? Muhammad Ali is cool, Mustafa Ali sucks. Mustafa Ali does this little hand taunt where he holds up his palm and closes it, you know, to signify an attack. The lights go out. Retribution is in the middle of the ring. The Fiend and Alexa have disappeared, right? Retribution looks retarded now. They're just like there, like what the hell just happened, right? As if they've never seen the Fiend before. You know, the Fiend's been doing this for years. Bray Wyatt's been doing this too, in various ways. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, but that's what happened. You know, like there wasn't anything special here. But the Fiend disappeared. This made room, of course, for the Hurt Business to appear and try to get revenge on Retribution. This led to a match. You know what I'm saying? 8-man tag. Retribution versus the Hurt Business, right? Now I'm thinking to myself, Retribution's got to win this, right? This is essentially their first match. No, not essentially. It's their first match since Ali has been revealed as their leader, right? What the fuck is that all about, by the way, you know? So I'm thinking to myself, all right, something's going to come from this. They got to win. Not necessarily decisively, but they have to win with like a finisher, you know? No, that's not what happens, motherfuckers. What happens is, eventually, T-Bag is in the ring with Lashley, right? And Lashley gets him in a waistlock. Now, here's where the worst thing possible for T-Bar or T-Bag could have happened, right? He swings one elbow backwards to try to hit Lashley in the head. Lashley hooks in half of a full Nelson, right? He does it with the other arm. Boom, the other half of the full Nelson. Lashley has him in the hurt lock, the full Lashley, you know what I'm saying? And T-Bag just taps out. Like a bitch too, by the way. He just tapped out like it was a really weird, prissy type of tap out, right? He taps out just like that. It's done. Not only did Lashley make this guy tap out, but he did it in the most dominating fashion that I could ever imagine, right? Like the guy couldn't do anything. Lashley had it from the back. He couldn't do anything. He tried to swing, didn't work. Tried to swing again, didn't work, found himself in a full Nelson. It was a wrap. You know, that's what I'm getting at here, right? Retribution has been booked so poorly that it's ridiculous. Then Mustafa Ali comes out and he's about to do something. You know, he's about to like attack. I think that was later, wasn't it? I don't know. But anyways, then Hurt Business leaves, right? They pretty much won this feud as far as I'm concerned. There's absolutely no reason to continue this. They won the feud. Retribution's in the ring. And all of a sudden, the lights go off again. The Fiend comes out, right? He comes out like on the apron. Like Mustafa Ali doesn't notice him immediately. So the Fiend grabs him by the face and throws him to the ground. Then the Fiend proceeds to single-handedly destroy all of Retribution, right? One of them, like Shane Thorne, whatever the fuck his name is, Shane Thorne runs up to him, gets clotheslined, right? He hits Dijakovic or some other jabron with his sister Abigail on the outside, like in a fluid motion. Then he does an Uranagi on Dio Madden on the table, beats the shit out of all of them, right? He tries to hit the sister Abigail on Ali. Dijakovic comes and saves him. He grabs the Fiend by the throat. The Fiend counters just with a mandible claw, straight up, you know what I'm saying? Puts him on his ass again. Dijakovic came out looking so weak today. Nonetheless, horrible opening segment in my opinion. The match was all right. Like, I enjoy Lashley, so that's kind of cool. But let's be real. I mean, it didn't need to go down like this, you know? I understand. Clearly, it's evident, in my opinion, that Vince McMahon or whoever's in charge of Retribution as a storyline has realized that this thing has jobber written all over it. What I've been saying since day one, you can't take 4 jobbers and have them being led by Mustafa Ali. This is ridiculous. Mustafa Ali is a tiny, tiny guy. Some of these guys are huge motherfucks. That's kind of the draw of Retribution, is that there's these guys that you're supposed to be afraid of, right? That's why Dio Madden looks like the fucking Predator with his long ass braids and his like face paint and the mask. Same thing with Dijakovic and even the other one, you know? Mia Yim has done absolutely nothing. I don't even know why she's there, you know? But it is what it is. Like, the point is you're supposed to be these intimidating guys. And an intimidating group should not be led by Ali under any circumstance. It's fucking stupid, man. Ali sucks. You know, he looks like a pussy, first of all, you know? Like, I hear that he used to be a cop, right? If Ali pulled me over, I mean, all right, he's kind of jacked. I mean, I'm not going to lie. He's not, you know, compared to normal people, he's like muscular, you know? But if he pulled me over with this long hair, I'd be like, what the fuck kind of a pussy-ass cop is this, you know? I'd automatically assume his wife gets railed out by like a greater man like Randy Orton or something, you know? It is what it is, though. The point I'm trying to like explain here is that Ali has absolutely no business leading anything. You know, I like the kid. I don't even have anything against Ali. It's just that, like, cut that long-ass hair, looks like a girl. Cut that long-ass, straight, perfect hair. You know what I'm saying? Cut that shit up, dog. And get a nice, normal boy haircut, because his hair is too nice to have long hair, you know? It's like perfectly straight. It's like, I mean, he must do something to it, you know? It is what it is, though, right? Cut that shit off, right? Like, maybe shave your head or something, and he might look badass by this long-haired, like, you know, oh, I'm kind of like a pretty boy type of thing, but also I'm Retribution's leader. Ali is whack, right? Then Ali cuts a shit promo afterwards. I don't know if this was exactly like right after the match, but he cut a shit promo on the outside, like backstage, right? The promo he cut was essentially like him saying like, oh, you know, like, this company held me down because they couldn't make a buck of someone named Mustafa Ali. And I'm like, what? That's retarded. Okay, fine. Like, you can go with the whole, like, I've been held down because I'm, you know, because I'm Muslim, basically, you know, and I'm brown. You can go with that gimmick if you want. But then how do you explain the fact that Dijakovic, white as fuck, and fucking, what's his face, Shane Thorne, white as fuck, are in your team? You know what I'm saying? What were they held down then, you know, if it's all about race? So this would work if everyone was like a minority, or if everyone was, you know, Pakistani, or whatever the fuck he is, you know? So it is what it is. The only thing about this entire big segment is that the Hurt Business look good. I like the Hurt Business. I want them to do well. They can be a very powerful force on Raw. You know, and it reinforces my idea that all you need is one star, lastly, and you can build an entire stable around him, basically, right? And it gives people like Shelton Benjamin something to do. You know, he could actually make some money for once in his career, you know what I mean? Then we had Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles comes out with Jordan Omogbehin, right? That's the big black guy. He's the bouncer for, what the fuck's it called, you know? Raw Underground. Whatever happened to Raw Underground, by the way? Whatever. So he's like this just giant guy. Like, he's so much bigger than AJ Styles. This guy's got to be above 7 foot. He's huge, right? But the problem with this guy is, like, what the fuck's so great about him? You know what I'm saying? Like, I could totally see this guy just being a huge flop, you know? This has Ezekiel Jackson and Brian Kendrick written all over it, you know? But it is what it is, right? The match starts. Jordan won't get out of the ring because, you know, he's a big guy, and what are you going to do? Make him, motherfuckers. So the referee's like, please, man, just get out, you know? Eventually, he gets out, and Riddle and AJ Styles have a pretty good match, I'm not going to lie. Like Riddle has good moves, man. He did like a Fisherman Buster, which was almost like a small package driver. It was pretty sick. But he was distracted by Jordan Omogbehin, and Styles hit the Styles Clash. He barely did it too. Like, Styles, he was holding him up, and I was like, man, this is gonna happen. He's gonna drop on his dome piece, but he didn't. It was pretty good. Matt Riddle is legit, man. You know, like, I like Matt Riddle a lot because he's someone that he's only been wrestling for like 6-7 years, I think, like total, you know, and like he's already like in WWE, and he's already a big deal, you know. He's legit. Then we had Asuka versus Lana. I mean, what did anyone expect from this garbage, right? Asuka beat her. No one really cared. I mean, Lana she sucks, you know. Then we have this. I am really hating this Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax situation, and the reason why I'm hating it is because it's so generic. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen this so many times. Like, the two people that aren't friends, right? But really they are friends. You know what I mean? Like they come out there and they're like, oh, we're not really friends. You know, like, we don't like each other, but like, we have a common goal, we're a team, you know, but like they finish each other's sentences and, you know, and they say the same shit as each other. So it's like, dude, like you are friends. Like that's the whole point. Like in 5 months, you know, when one of them betrays the other one, it'll be like, oh, the best friends betrayed each other, you know? That's why I like the best friends from AEW, because it's almost like they're making fun of like just the tag team, like, you know, aesthetic, right? Where it's like everyone's supposed to be best friends for some reason, you know? So it is what it is. They came out and they beat Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. I mean, if you're going to have Peyton Royce team with someone, just put her with Billie Kay again. It makes no sense, you know? And they also beat the Riot Squad and Rose and Brooke. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, I'm enjoying it. I mean, they're two blondes. Fuck it. They look kind of the same. Who gives a shit, right? I don't understand, like, why they have to break these tag teams only to put the same wrestlers again in different tag teams. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. Like, why break up the Iconics, which are an actual established tag team with, like, a gimmick and a story behind it, right? Like, they know each other from real life, right? Why break that shit up just to have her team with Lacey Evans, man? Because Lacey Evans sucks. It's not anything for, like, 2 years. You know, it is what it is. That happened. No one gave a fuck. Elias performed. I skipped this. I'm not gonna lie. Elias, I've always liked Elias a little bit, but I gotta tell the truth. Elias, the problem with Elias is that, like, they've missed the boat on him. You know, he's like a Nakamura, right? He had his moment. He had his opportunity. He didn't quite get over where he needed to get over. I don't mean people singing with him and saying "Walk with Elias" or chanting Nakamura's thing. I mean actually getting over. These guys didn't get over, and now they're just here. Like, they're gonna get like these little influx pushes once in a while, but the reality is what the reality is. I mean, who gives a flying fuck? You know what I'm saying? Elias, like, if he gets injured tomorrow and is out for another year, like, no one's gonna give a fuck. So, what's it called? Hardy attacked him. Hardy is much better than this. Hardy deserves to be WWE champion. He shouldn't be, like, even wasting his time with people like Elias. You know what I'm saying? Hardy is a legend. Hardy's been around for, like, God knows, like, at least 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, more than 20 years, but at least 20 years. And he's always been at a high level all those 20 years. He's always been booked at the top, right? Or in his early years, he was at least with WWE, you know? It is what it is. Then we had Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus Sheamus. I mean, this is, in my opinion, the lowest of the low. I cannot justify this match existing. First of all, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods just come out and make their shitty jokes. Like, these guys are not funny guys. You know, I'm telling you like it is, as usual, motherfuckers. I know a lot of people that are like Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. A lot of these people think they're funny people and think they're cool, but they're neither funny nor cool. They're cringy motherfucks, right? But because they present themselves as cool, people that are cringier and less cool than them think they're cool, you know? And that's the entire point of New Day. When I say point, I don't mean like the intended point, because I don't think they thought it through that much. It's more like what the fuck has happened as a result. You know what I'm saying? It's like you take these two losers, right? They make a couple of jokes. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be cool, but it's neither, motherfucks. It sucks. So that's what I gotta say about that. Oh, okay. No, you're good, man. Dog almost killed me, motherfucks. So anyways, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm getting at, you know? Like, it's this whole idea, right? That, like, they're supposed to be cool because they're presented as cool. But I look at them and I just cringe. Now, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and just make shit up, you know? For a long time, they were cool. Like not cool, but they were unique at least. They were novel, you know? It's like, oh, these guys, especially when they went from, like, face to heel, right? Like, they were presented as faces, but, like, they didn't get over because of everything I just said. Because they were like, oh, we're cool. We're going to, like, do you remember in the very beginning when they would come out and to determine which two of them would wrestle, they would choose, which is like rock, paper, scissors, but with, like, odds and evens. They would do that, and it was presented as if it was supposed to be this, like, hip, cool thing, you know? And then they tried to put themselves over by being like, New Day rocks, right? But the fans were like, New Day sucks, you know? These guys are fucking losers. And I will say part of that is also the fan of 5 years ago is different from the fan of 5 years of now. You know what I'm saying? They are fundamentally different, you know? It's not the same kind of shit. So with that in mind, it's like the things that were cool are no longer cool, right? And if they ever were cool, but back in the day, people rejected this idea, right? Then they cleverly rebranded it as, like, you know, like they actually are bad guys, right? They gave them that what has now become kind of a generic gimmick of, like, you know, the heels that think they're faces, you know what I mean? Like the Bo Dallas gimmick, the Kurt Angle gimmick, like they thought they were like faces, but they were actually heels. You know, they would cheat, and they were interesting. Then eventually they got over because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got over because they were being fun heels. Like, they were heels that didn't take themselves seriously, you know? People love that kind of shit. That's one of the most successful gimmicks of all time, if you think about it. Like, when a heel is like a fun-loving or comical heel, it always works, almost always. Like, Eddie Guerrero, for example, made a career doing that. Like, he was a heel for a big part of his career, but he was a lovable heel. He was just a funny guy, so it came off well, right? And the New Day, they were funny because they were heels who behaved like faces. You know, they did like things like dance around, but they were heels, right? And they got over on that. And then in order to switch with the fact that they were now over, they turned face and became boring as fuck. And this has gone on for far too long. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods coming out there just making these jokes. It's not funny at all. Sheamus comes out. Sheamus is an embarrassment too now. He's talking all this nonsense, right? It was just a waste of time. Kofi Kingston wins. One of the worst matches I've ever seen on Raw. I'm not even joking about the match, by the way, motherfucks. The amount of botches in this match was insane. There were botches everywhere. Like left, right, up, down, botch city, man. Just a botch everywhere, you know what I mean? So there you go. I mean, this match, I thought was complete garbage. You know what I'm saying? I didn't give a flying fuck about this match. But it happened, and I guess we have a lot more of this to look forward to because, you know, let's be real, right? Like, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, the New Day, are now on Raw. You know they're going to be featured motherfucks. Then we had one of the more fun segments of the night. We had Tucker and his mystery partner, El Gran Gordo, versus Miz and Morrison, right? Otis comes out in a luchador mask. Tucker says some, like, pretty funny shit. Like, he's like, oh, I believe that El Gran Gordo has the potential to become the next Rey Mysterio, which is just hilarious, you know, because it's like, just because he's a luchador, you have to compare him to Rey Mysterio, you know? The match was whatever. Heavy Machinery wins. Nothing really special in the match, but the segment was cool. It's cool to see them back again, you know? Just because they were separated by Miz and Morrison. This actually is a storyline. Not one that I like, but storyline nonetheless, motherfucks. Strowman versus Keith Lee happened after Strowman hit a low blow. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck's up with the low blows, by the way? It's like everyone's doing low blows now. Whatever. It is what it is, right? He then hit Keith Lee with just a big boot. Just that nice big boot, and pinned him, right? This is the problem with these big wrestlers. Like, in order to not seem weak, they can't do their big guy moves on each other, right? Like, even though Braun Strowman did pick up Keith Lee, you know? It's like, there's a possibility that if he goes for the move, and it's not supposed to be countered, that he fucks it up, because Keith Lee's a big guy. That makes him look weak, you know? I want people to have confidence in doing their big moves. You shouldn't be beating Keith Lee with a kick to the head. What the fuck is the logic behind that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, he's a big guy, a kick by Strowman would probably hurt. But the idea behind it is that, like, a lot of times these, like, bigger wrestlers, like, I remember Cucky Rhodes beating Great Khali with like a disaster kick, right? And it's like, dude, the disaster kick can't put down, like, Sheamus. Why is it putting down the Great Khali? You know what I'm saying? And the logic behind that is obviously that Cody Rhodes can't do other moves to the Great Khali because Cody Rhodes is limited by his size, you know? And therefore, he has to stick to this other move that he can do, and that substitutes as a finisher. But that's fucked up, motherfucks. That's fucked up. That just means that these people shouldn't be wrestling each other, right? If Braun Strowman can't do the move to Keith Lee, you don't bury Keith Lee by having him take a pin after a big boot. You know, meanwhile, against Dijakovic, he's kicking out of, like, you know, like spiral taps and these insane things, right? That make no sense. So it is what it is, but I didn't like that, you know? I don't really care that Keith Lee lost because I think he won the segment, if you will, right? Keith Lee gave him like a low blow after the match. Keith Lee kicked him in the balls, like punted him right in the balls, grabbed him by his beard while he was down, and he was like, you fucked with the wrong guy, more or less, right? I thought that was cool. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, yo, enough of this horse shit. Like, you know, like, you're supposed to be this, like, and Keith Lee said it. They didn't really focus on it, but he said it. He was like, you know, you're supposed to be this, like, big, strong guy, but you're, like, kicking me in the balls, you know, like, you're a pussy, basically. He didn't say you're a pussy, but you know what I mean, right? He gave this impression that, like, dude, hold on a second. Like, you're supposed to be this, like, big monster guy, like, run, right? But, like, you resort to kicking people in the balls, right? And he's like, I'm not putting up for this, right? And it was great. It really made Keith Lee look strong. First of all, he lost only because of low blow. And two, he didn't take the high road like a bitch. Because sometimes people take the high road, like, oh, he low blowed me, but that's okay. He cheated, you know? No, he kicked him right in the balls, and he was like, no, you don't do this shit to me, motherfucker. You know, you mess with the wrong one. And I like that. Then we had, I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, right? I know I exaggerate sometimes in this channel. I really try not to, I'm not going to lie. But I have to tell the truth. this last segment that closed the show, I mean, there's a possibility that someone can point to a segment in the past where I might agree that that segment is worse than this segment. But I really doubt it, motherfuckers. I really doubt it. I really believe, honestly, that this is the worst Raw segment in history. And one of the worst segments in wrestling history. Like, it was so horrible. I couldn't stop thinking about this like a few hours after it happened. And honestly, the reason why I'm doing this out-of-date review for Raw is because of this segment. It was supposed to be Randy Orton's address to Drew McIntyre from hell, which means hell in a cell, right? Randy Orton is in the middle of the ring. The cell is around him. He's sitting on a chair, and he's talking shit. Drew McIntyre eventually comes out, trying to live up to his promise of kicking the shit out of Randy Orton every time they're in the same building. You know what I mean? Randy Orton uses the cage to basically say, "You can't get me," right? Because, you know, he's in the cage, right? Drew McIntyre pulls out bolt cutters. Whoa. How could anyone foreseen this? How did Randy Orton not realize that if he does open the door, Randy Orton is fucked? Drew uses the bolt cutters to cut the chain and open the door and enter the cell. Now, up until this point, you're probably thinking, this segment sounds like shit, but it's not the worst thing ever, you know? And I would agree. A lot of segments, a lot of Raws end like this, right? They end with a brawl, or they end with the good guy getting their hands on the bad guy, or the bad guy beating up the good guy. This is like very common wrestling trope. So I wouldn't hold that against them, you know what I mean? I would not hold that against them. But what happens then is Randy Orton gets in the ring and he's like, come on then. You know, he has a chair. Drew McIntyre goes into the cage, closes the door behind him, and the show just goes off air. Think about that, motherfuckers. The show just goes off the air. Now, what the hell was the point of giving the drama of cutting the lock open, right? So that he could enter the cage if he wasn't going to do anything. Or, I mean, presumably, they fought each other, right? But it's like we didn't see what happened. You know, wrestling is not one of those mediums where you can explain things that way, right? You can't end on that kind of a cliffhanger, right? Things have to have some sort of resolution. So it's like now, for all I know, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton could still be fighting in that cage. You know, I don't know what the fuck happened, right? Who knows? Obviously what happened was someone yelled cut, they went off TV, and then they shook hands and they went home. Do you see what I'm saying? How fucked up that is? Like, they didn't even want to try to do a brawl. Now, it's possible that they didn't have time, but if they didn't have time, then they could have just called an audible and had Drew McIntyre not able to enter the cage. I don't know. That would have been better than opening the cage and then not seeing a fight. Because it was presented in a way where Randy Orton couldn't escape, right? How could he get out of there? You know? Not only how could he get out of there, like logically, but, you know, with respect to kayfabe, how could he get out of there? The whole point was, he was like, you can't come in here. And then Drew McIntyre got in there. So the whole point is, Randy Orton should now be taking a nice thorough ass beating, right? That's what I'm getting at, motherfuckers. So, this segment was horrible. I did not like it at all, you know? And it's something that really, really upset me, just because it was like the season premiere of Raw or something. So it's like you expect them to actually give it a shot, you know, to actually do a good show for once, you know? This was the worst Raw I've ever seen. There was nothing to look forward to. Everyone felt like a jobber. Even Randy Orton is starting to feel like a mid-carder now. You know, like at a certain point, 19 losses in a row. Like this year, Randy Orton's won like 2 matches. You know, he beat like Edge at the Greatest Wrestling match or whatever. And that's pretty much it. I mean, he won like a fatal 4-way type shit, but that's pretty much it. Like, he hasn't done anything. You know, it's been a year. It's been like, what, like 6-7 months since Mania? He hasn't done anything. So it's like, it's hard to look at this same person as a main eventer, right, when he doesn't do anything. You know, like, one thing that people always complained about, but that they were obviously wrong about, was how John Cena was booked so strong. At least he felt legit. At least he felt like a champion. You know, you're like, oh shit, it's John Cena. Of course he's gonna be in the main event. Of course John Cena isn't gonna like be wrestling like, I don't know, Taka Michinoku, right? Of course not. So that's something that really was a problem, you know, with this Raw and with, honestly, with just this kind of time period with wrestling. So that being said, motherfucks, I guess we can look forward to next week's Raw. I mean, based on this week's Raw, there's no reason to watch it whatsoever, but we'll see, motherfuckers. We'll see. All right. Hater out.